ever try like reading about insurance and then you get to the tax part. It's like, forget it, right?
Yeah.
So today we're going to try to decode some of that with a deep dive into, the tax benefits you can actually get with long-term care insurance.
Why?
And, before anyone tunes out and is like, oh, that's not me, I'm not retiring yet, this is important for everybody to think about.
Yeah.
Even if you're employed, freelancing, whatever your situation is, even if you're just starting out, it's something to think about for your financial future. We're looking at this article from the Skloff Financial Group. It was published in January of this year. It's got some really useful info on this topic that, honestly, I think a lot of people don't even realize. It's kind of overlooked, but it's so important. I mean, nobody wants to think about needing long-term care, but the reality is it can be a huge burden on families, financially and emotionally, right? So having a plan can make a world of difference.
Huge difference, yeah. And that's where, having long-term care insurance, especially if it's provided by your employer, that could be amazing.
Right.
And like the article points out, for businesses, it's a fantastic way to attract and keep really talented employees. If you think about it, the job market is so competitive these days. Having a benefit like that could make someone decide to work for you,
It's like a secret weapon for companies in a way, right? Because it shows that they really care about their employees, not just like in the moment, but even years down the line.
Exactly. And that's where we get into this whole concept of tax-qualified long-term care insurance.
Yeah. Okay.
It sounds kind of jargony, but
Yeah.
it's an important detail that people honestly often miss. Basically, the IRS has rules, as they do, to make sure these policies really do benefit both the employee and the employer from a tax perspective. So when you have a policy that's tax qualified, a lot of times those premiums that you're paying, you can actually deduct those from your federal income taxes.
That's huge.
Yeah, it's real money back in your pocket just for planning ahead,
That makes a lot of sense. But okay, so what if my employer doesn't offer that kind of insurance? Like, am I just out of luck when it comes to the tax breaks?
Not necessarily, not at all. The article talks about this too. You can buy your own policy and individuals might still be eligible for some similar deductions.
Okay.
It really comes down to, how medical expense deductions work in general. And there's this thing, it's called the 7.5% AGI threshold, which sounds way more intimidating than it actually is.
All right, walk me through it. What's AGI again?
Right, so AGI is adjusted gross income, which is basically what you make in a year after certain deductions. So let's just say, for example, your AGI is $60,000. Only the medical expenses that you have that are more than 7.5% of that amount, which in that case would be $4,500, only the amount above that can be deducted. And guess what? Your long-term care insurance premiums can count towards that.
Oh, interesting. So, okay, so if I'm getting this right, if I hit that $4,500 mark, anything beyond that for things that are eligible medical expenses, that could be deductible.
Exactly, yeah.
That's huge.
Yeah. And it can really add up. And remember, this is just federal taxes we're talking about. So then you've got to check out what your state's policies are too. There might be even more savings waiting for you at the state level.
Right.
Like I think the article mentioned New York State, they offer a 20% tax credit, can you imagine, for long-term care insurance premiums.
Wow.
It's amazing. So
Okay, so we've talked about how employees can benefit, but I'm curious about the employer's side of things because, it can't just be about like attracting talent, right? There's got to be something in it for the companies too.
Oh, absolutely. You're totally right. There are some, honestly, significant financial pluses for businesses as well. But it really depends on how the business is structured.
Yep.
The article kind of breaks it down. You've got your sole proprietorships, your LLCs, C corporations, S corporations. They've all got different rules.
So, yeah, of course.
But the bottom line is, if you offer this benefit as an employer, it can mean pretty big tax savings.
And get this, the article specifically mentioned that this deduction, it even applies to premiums that are paid for spouses and dependents. That's amazing, especially for employees with families.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's a fantastic perk to be able to offer. And to be honest, it just makes sense. For businesses, you offer these really solid, comprehensive benefits. You're showing that you're invested in your employees, and that can really translate into a more loyal and productive team overall.
Yeah, it's about building a workplace where people feel valued and supported, not just like, in the day-to-day, but in the long run too. And I feel like that's something that people really are looking for in their careers right now.
Absolutely.
So,
yeah, and that's just one piece of the puzzle, really. I mean, there's so many other ways that this type of insurance, long-term care insurance, can benefit both employees and employers.
Right. And that's what we're here to unpack today. We're going to dig into all those nuances, explore those additional advantages, and hopefully by the end of this, you'll feel like you can actually make some informed decisions about your own long-term care planning. It's interesting to see how, like, this one thing, long-term care insurance, can actually have such a big impact, when you think about how it affects employee satisfaction, how it affects a business's success. It's kind of amazing.
Yeah, it really is. It's kind of, when you think about it, offering these kinds of benefits, it's not just about the money. It's really about showing your employees that you care about them. And that can lead to, people wanting to stick around, wanting to do their best work, all that good stuff.
Totally. It's like you're investing in your workforce,
hmm
which ultimately is investing in your business.
Exactly. And we can't forget about just the peace of mind it gives people.
hmm
Knowing they have that safety net. If they ever need long-term care, that's huge.
Right. That's a really good point, and I think it often gets overlooked. We're so quick to jump into the financial stuff, but taking care of your employees' emotional well-being is just as important.
100%. And having that long-term care insurance, it can give people a sense of security, not just for themselves, but for their families too. Like if something unexpected happens, they can focus on what really matters, their health, their family, the important things.
Absolutely. Just knowing that you and your family are taken care of no matter what happens, that's priceless.
Exactly. That peace of mind. You can't put a price tag on that.
For sure.
So as we kind of, keep talking about this, I think it's really important to remember that there's both like the practical side and then this whole other side to it. The stuff you can't really measure.
Right, totally. Okay, so for someone listening right now who's thinking, okay, this is all great, but like, where do I even start? What would you tell them?
Yeah, that's a great question. And the article actually talks about this too. It really emphasizes how important it is to understand your own needs
Hmm.
because there's no magic answer, you know?
Hmm.
Every situation is different.
So you can't just like check a box and be done with it.
No, not at all. You really have to, ask yourself some questions like, what are my long-term care needs going to be potentially? What can I afford? What kind of coverage would actually make me feel good, make me feel secure?
Those are some big questions.
They are.
And I'm sure the answers, they're different for everyone, depending on your own situation.
Exactly. That's why it's so important to really do your research, talk to a financial advisor, maybe compare different policies to find the one that really works for you.
It sounds like knowledge is power, especially when you're trying to figure out something as complicated as long-term care insurance.
Absolutely, 100%.
Right.
The more you know, the better decisions you can make. And this isn't just something to think about when you're, about to retire. This is something you can start thinking about now, no matter where you are.
Yeah, especially with those tax benefits we were talking about. I mean, those can really add up over time.
Oh, for sure. The earlier you start, the more you can benefit. So if you're feeling overwhelmed, just take it slow, one step at a time. Start by learning about it. Then talk to an expert. You don't have to do this all on your own.
Yeah, that's so important to remember. It's easy to get bogged down in all the details, but really it's about taking control of your future, making choices that make sense for you and your goals.
Exactly. And that's what we're here to help you do.
Right.
So let's dive back into the article, talk about some of the key points.
Okay, yeah. What really stuck out to you?
Well, one thing that I thought was really interesting was how the article talked about those benefits,
Mm.
the ones we don't always think about.
Yeah.
We've talked about the money part. We've talked about, the emotional side. But then there's this whole other level, like this idea of preserving your independence, your dignity as you get older.
Wow.
It's not just about having access to care. It's about having choices.
Right, having control over your own life.
Exactly. And having that long-term care insurance, that can give you the financial freedom to make those choices, whether it's staying at home, going to an assisted living facility, or, whatever you decide is right for you.
It lets you stay in the driver's seat, even when you might need some help along the way.
Exactly.
I love that.
And that's something I think that we all value, being able to make our own choices.
Absolutely. It's about like living with dignity, being able to live your life the way you want to.
You said it perfectly. And honestly, to me, that's one of the most compelling reasons to seriously consider long-term care insurance. It's not just about money. It's about protecting your right to live your life on your own terms.
Wow, yeah, that really changes how you think about it. It's not just about like the practical stuff, the money, the peace of mind. It's like on a deeper level, having the power to make those choices for yourself as you get older, that's huge.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's something that, I don't know, I think it gets overlooked a lot. We get so caught up in the details, but the bigger picture is so important.
Right, exactly. Like it's about, like you said, maintaining that sense of control, that dignity, even if you need help with certain things.
Exactly. And that's something I think everyone can relate to no matter how old you are
Right.
or what your health is like right now.
It's like a basic human need, right? To be able to live your life on your own terms for as long as possible.
Exactly. And long-term care insurance can be a big part of making that happen for a lot of people.
So, as we're wrapping up here, what's the one thing you hope people really take away from all of this?
I think it's don't let this stuff scare you.
Hmm.
Don't let the fact that it's complicated or maybe a little overwhelming stop you from at least looking into it.
Right.
Because it's about so much more than just the money. It's about your future, your independence, your peace of mind. Just take some time, learn about it, ask questions, see what your options are. You won't regret it.
I love that. It's about advocating for yourself, making choices that feel right for you.
Exactly.
And, like we talked about, you don't have to do this alone. There's resources out there like that Skloff Financial Group article that can be super helpful.
Definitely.
It's been a really interesting conversation. We've covered so much ground
I
today.
has.
The tax stuff, the emotional side of it, even like the bigger picture, what it means for how we live our lives. It just goes to show you something small, like thinking about long-term care insurance, it can make a huge difference.
Yeah, it's all about planning ahead, making sure you're prepared.
Absolutely. So to everyone listening, we hope you'll keep learning about this stuff. Do your research, talk to the experts, figure out how it all fits into your life.
Exactly. Take charge of your future. Make sure you have what you need to live your best life no matter what.
Perfectly said. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive. We'll see you next time.